Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Eric Jones, and I am getting ready to talk to you about business insurance. And to start things off, I want to first of all tell you that I am not a licensed insurance broker. I'm not a licensed CPA, nor am I an attorney. I am a horticulture instructor. That is my main profession. I am also part owner of Elite Landscape Service and Nursery, and I have prepared a series of classes that have been approved by the North Carolina Irrigation Contractors Licensing Board for CEUs, and this is the first of several classes that I have prepared that is on my website, ericwjones.com. This one is entitled Business Insurance. This is a class. Actually, this is a lecture that I teach in my horticulture marketing and management class at the community college that I teach at. But before we get started on business insurance, I'll explain a little bit more about who I am and what I've done. I am a licensed irrigation contractor. I am a licensed landscape contractor as well. And I grew up in the business. I started at a very early age working for my parents at Elite Landscape Service and Nursery. And from the time I was old enough to walk, my dad actually had a weed eater in my hand. So I grew up summers and after school working in the business. So I gained a lot of experience. And when I first graduated high school, I come to the conclusion that I would never, ever be involved in landscaping ever again. But once I did finish my associate degree at Forsyth Tech, I realized that I did want to be a part of the family business. So I studied landscape architecture at North Carolina A&T State University in Greensboro. I graduated there in 1997, and from then I continued working in the family business up until 2010, which I applied for a position at Forsyth Tech. So I'm back to where I originally started, and I am the program coordinator and one of the full-time faculty members in the Horticulture Technology Associate Degree program. So my main courses that I teach there, I do teach an irrigation class, landscape design, marketing and management, horticulture computer apps, where we get involved with Pro Landscape and AutoCAD for design projects. And but this topic and my class, marketing and management, is one of my main classes that I love teaching. I love running businesses, and I love teaching students how to run their business. And during my presentations, as you will see, I kid around a lot. I joke a lot. My classes aren't boring. You can ask any of my students. It is lively. It is upbeat, and you will see me get excited about some of these presentations. And that's just what I do. I'm not your reading from a book straight up true boring lecturer. I'm lively. I jump up and down. I scream and I holler, and that's what makes my classes fun. Even my students will tell me and tell you that I can even make soil science fun, and that's hard to do because that is not a particular fun class to teach, but I do my best at it, and it's definitely one of the harder subjects in our program. But we make it lively and we make it fun. But this course here, Business Insurance, it is course number 9754, approved for 1 hour of business CEUs for your 2012 and future years. Will be certified for 1 hour on your continuing education points. So I'm glad that you signed up for this class, and we are going to go ahead and get started. This is business insurance. All right. To, to start off with, money. Money. Anybody who tells you that money is the root of all evil, what? Tell me where that quote's from. And guys, I quote a lot of movies, especially business movies. I'm watching everything that has to do uh, with business, Wall Street, any of those type of movies where it's teaching you how to use money, and that's the main reason that we all get into running our own business, and especially lawn care, irrigation, landscape businesses. They were pretty simple to get into, and with hard work and dedication, you can actually generate quite a bit of income. But there's a lot of income that goes out. You have a lot of expenses running these business. But as the slide says, anybody who tells you that money is the root of all evil really doesn't have any. And guys, whether you believe that or not, and that's a quote from a movie. It's from Boiler Room, and I just like opening my business insurance lecture talking about this. But whether or not you believe it, people that believe that money is the root of all evil really don't have any. That's just a quote, guys. Just a quote. But we are going to continue on. You can't buy happiness, but you can buy peace of mind. Peace of mind. That's going to bed, resting assured that your property, your vehicles, your work, your professionalism, anything that you own, and the work that you perform, you can go to bed at night rest assured because you can buy peace of mind. And what do we call that peace of mind? And that peace of mind can cost you a lot of money, and it will cost you a lot of money. And so what do you think that peace of mind is called? And like I said, what do we call that peace of mind? And based on the title of this lecture, you know what it's called. Insurance. Notice insurance, how I wrote the letter S. It's with a $sign. Insurance. It is the fine art of buying. The fine art of buying insurance is a delicate balance of anticipating the worst without crossing the line into the dark realm of paranoia and pessimism. And most of these notes that I got, guys, are from the Small Business Legal Guide. I'm not sure what edition it is, but I use that text a lot in my marketing and management class. But insurance, it is an art. And hopefully you guys have a good agent that can actually sit down with you and go over all of your property, all of your equipment, go over the type of work that you do, and come up with a good insurance plan for you. Paranoia and pessimism. What does that actually mean? Pessimism. You always kind of need to plan for the worst. But you don't want to pay for something that you're not going to need. And as an irrigation contractor, what are some of the insurances that we could possibly need? Well, would you believe that you actually need all of these? And let's actually take a look at some of these. Well, we definitely need workers' compensation because if you're in the irrigation business, you're not going to be doing this work by yourself. And a lot of the times you're going to be working for building contractors that are putting in systems for homeowners and commercial property. So you're always going to have to furnish them a certificate of insurance showing that you do have workers' compensation. And if you have one employee, you've got to have it covered. You're going to need liability insurance in case something happens, in case you damage, say one of your trucks bumps into the back of a car going to the job site. You're going to need liability insurance to take care of that. You're going to need property insurance, to cover your equipment, your shop, and all of your equipment. And professional liability, that's something we may or may not need. Professional liability is more of like your errors and omission insurance. If you're a landscape architect or professional engineer, those types of guys that have that professional stamp or seal are going to be the ones that carry professional liability. But the top three is definitely going to be the ones that you need. All right, workers' compensation. It is mandatory, with one or more employees. You can't have it. And I've never, ever worked for a building contractor or a home builder that did not ask for a certificate of insurance. They wanted to see workers' compensation and general liability. So it is mandatory. You guys, we've got to have it. It's going to provide a safe work environment for your employees. Your employees can come to work for you, knowing, this is their peace of mind, that if they do get hurt on the job, that that it's going to be, that they're going to be taken care of. Their medical bills are going to be paid, and plus they're going to get a percentage of their salary. State law requires you provide compensation for employees who suffer physical or mental injuries due to their jobs. So, if you didn't have workers' compensation and an employee got seriously hurt, you're going to be responsible for paying that, because state law is it mandates that you take care of that employee, and that's just the right thing to do. They need to have the coverage. I know of a framing contractor is a good friend of mine. He's had several people get hurt on the job. Framing's a dangerous job, and he carries workers' compensation, and a lot of the times, instead of actually filing the claim against his workers' comp, he would actually pay the medical bills out of pocket, and help the guy along with some money during the week. But the guys really appreciated working for him, and they most of the injuries weren't serious enough that they missed a lot of work. He was able to to kind of help them with their bills and whatnot. He had the workers' comp. He could file it if he wanted to, but to keep his rates down, he went ahead and paid the hospital bill out of pocket. And that was back when housing was booming. Now, so he's not going to be able to do that. And a little side joke at the bottom, workers' comp can cover you on some mental injuries, and in my case, in education, with a lack of sleep deprivation, as once again, it's after midnight and I am recording lectures. Corporate officers, they can elect to be excluded from coverage. And I know my parents, they are the main head honchos for their landscape business, and me and my brother still help out, even though I'm in education and he's in software engineering. But we're still closely related to the landscape company. But mom and dad, they're not covered with their workers' comp. They are only covering their employees that are actually working. And state statutes dictate employees are eligible for workers' compensation whether the employer is guilty of negligence or not. So, if it was a true accident, you've got to cover it. Or if it was something deliberate, you've got to cover it. So in other words, you must cover your employees and buy workers' compensation insurance. And premiums for your workers' compensation is based on the size of your payroll. The more employees you have, the more your workers' compensation is going to cost you. And it also, the rates are going to be affected by the types of jobs that your company does. Roofing, is a lot higher than landscaping. Framing, that my buddy's a part of, his workers' compensation is just higher based on the type of the job. He's actually, you know, crawling all over roof trusses and everything else. Actually, when my brother built his house, our brother-in-law did the framing for it, and he had a guy, Brent, my brother. He's got a full basement and 2 stories above it. They were putting the roof sheeting on the house, and one of his employees fell all the way through down to the basement, broke both of his legs, hurt him pretty seriously. Well, he had workers' compensation. It took care of that, and actually, helped the guy with his bills by giving him a percentage of his salary. And so that's the type of hazard that employee faced on the job. So automatically his premiums were high based on being a framing contractor, but he was glad he had it on a day like that. And unfortunately, the premiums for workers' compensation insurance are on the upswing. They're increasing every year, guys, and they'll probably continue to do so. And judges are even widening the guidelines for the types of claims that workers can file under mental duress. And what is mental duress? Well, that's, a broad claim that the employee can file under. But, some of the examples are firing the employee undiplomatically. That's, maybe saying some harsh words to him in front of his coworkers, or, doing it out in public instead of doing it privately. Or, there's been cases where employees were asked to work enormous amount of overtime. That really bothers me. I mean, look at what we do in the irrigation business and landscape businesses. You always hear people say, well, he's a business owner, so he's making all that money. Time and time again, we hear our neighbors and friends say that, well, you guys run your own business, you're making a lot of money. It may appear that way, but they don't see the expenses that go out, and this is one of the big ones, is your insurance premiums. And then to see an employee be able to draw workers' compensation because he's had to do a lot of overtime work. You're paying him for overtime unless he's salaried, but if somebody's salaried, typically they're, compensated a little bit higher than the hourly guys. And on a rainy day, he doesn't show up, that's fine. We're going to get the extra hours out of him when the weather's good. So you just got to kind of be careful with that, because employees, it seems like nowadays, are always looking to find maybe an easy way out, and this is just another way that they can do it. Mental duress. All right, if you need to find some more information on the workers' compensation, you can call the North Carolina Industrial Commission. There's their website and their phone number. And, it hadn't been long ago, but I did check the number. Everything was still correct on that, whether or not it's changed now. But you can always Google North Carolina Industrial Commission and find the correct number. But the last time I called it, probably a month ago, everything was still correct. Liability insurance. One of the ones that's probably, workers' compensation is important, but I believe that this one is a lot more important. The liability insurance covers any claim of negligence by a third party against the company. And unless you work in a vacuum and have no contact with employees, customers, or suppliers, liability insurance is a must. Just yesterday, Dad got a contract to bush hog a piece of property, and unfortunately, we busted 2 windshields. A car in the parking lot across the street, a rock was picked up. I mean, we're cutting 6 feet grass that was 6 feet tall, and weeds and little tree buds, tree stems growing up in it. And we picked up a rock, and it flew across the street and hit a parked car. And we also busted out our own windshield. So, I mean, things happen. And like my dad said, Eric, that's just part of doing business. I mean, it's what we have liability insurance for. Dad chose to pay for it out of pocket instead of filing the claim. And, that was his choice. I mean, it's keeping his premiums down. It was, $200-$300 windshields. But he was able to do that. Claims of negligence. That includes bodily injury, personal wrongs, there again, emotional or mental duress, slander, and even defame can all be claims of negligence. Your types of liability insurance policies. One is the general liability. That's probably what we're more familiar with in this business. Um, we're going to talk about these a little bit more in detail, but then there's product liability, probably something that we're not really going to have. I mean, we're providing services, and if we have a bad irrigation controller or module go bad, we're taking it back to the dealer that we got it from and getting it replaced for the client. But we're not producing a product, so we're not necessarily going to have product liability. Vehicle liability, a big one. Your guys are out on the roads every day, pulling trailers and equipment around. You're going to need the vehicle liability, and business life insurance. This is a great thing to have. You never know, especially if you have you have a partner, a vital partner, and a lot of irrigation and landscape businesses. It's man and wife running the business together. So what if something did happen to your spouse or to yourself? You need to have that business life that can actually pick up and actually hire somebody else to replace it or just to get you through. I mean, you're a vital part of the business. You and your spouse running the show. If one of you is gone, you need something that's going to help you be able to replace that. But general liability, it is going to cover judgments up to the amount of the policy limit plus the cost of defending the lawsuit. So if you have a $500,000 policy, it's going to take care of the lawsuit and up to the damages as long as it does not exceed the limit. So if you had an instance where you did $510,000 worth of damage, you're still going to pay. You're going to pay the difference. It'll cover up to whatever your limit is plus defending the lawsuit. Coverage limited. Unknowing negligence for it, willful and malicious behavior with intent of injury. It's not going to do it. So if you were doing something negligent that you didn't know that you were actually doing it, it's going to help you out with it. But if you're doing something illegal and you know that you're doing something illegal and it causes bodily harm or damages property, your general liability is not going to cover that. Here's some examples. You have a nice office and you have a client that's coming over to pay you on a winter January day. You've sent out a invoice for the year for lawn care apps and they're coming to prepay. Well, it's a little bit icy outside and the client's walking into your office and slips on the ice. Well, your general liability is going to take care of the injury of your client. But say you have a disgruntled employee that pushes the client out the door and the client slips and falls. Joe, one of your employees, recognizes that client and doesn't like him or her because they said something to him the last time he was at the yard, and he comes by and just kind of pushes them a little bit and they slip and fall. Well, your general liability is not going to cover that because that was a willful negligence. The employee was doing something that he knew was going to cause harm to your client. And like I said, your insurance company will not pay the claim if your employee pushes the client out the door, and you can't blame them for that. And you're going to have an employee that's no longer going to be employed with you. All right, if you buy $1 million worth of liability insurance and you settle a claim for $500,000, your insurance will pay the amount and assume the legal cost of defending you. So you're not going to, you're not going to have to come up with any money out of the pocket, except that your premiums are probably going to go up in quite a bit, especially if you have a $500,000 claim. Now we're moving on to product liability. Like I said, this is something that we're going to need in the irrigation business, especially, but it is expensive. It can cost you an arm and a leg. But if you do need it, it's you need to consider the amounts you need, and it's really defending you and protecting you against the probability that your product will unwittingly cause harm to customers. So like I said, we're always providing the service, and the products that we're putting underground is not really going to cause much damage to your clients. Yeah, but if you do need it and you are manufacturing something and selling it, the best protection is to always test your product. And really, the best protection for the business owner is not insurance, but it's your own competence, care, and commitment to excellence. And that's, again, guys, straight out of the Small Business Legal Guide. Vehicle liability. It's crucial for certain businesses, and definitely our businesses. Like I say, we have trucks running up and down the street every day. Your company-owned vehicles. So those are the ones that you personally own or the company owns, and it's got your logo on it. You've got to have the liability insurance on it. And even employee vehicles that are used to conduct business. It's nothing wrong with, we've had several guys that worked for us in the past that, they would do estimates in the evening or on their way home. They get a call, and, it's in the neighborhood they live in, or it's on their way home. They're actually going, representing the company, and presenting an estimate. You need to make sure that they actually have liability insurance. If they're still on the clock and something happens, they need to be covered, or it's going to come back on you, the business owner. All right, business life. Like I said, I am a big fan of this. It is your key man insurance, and like I said, we're mom and pop businesses. So it's I grew up watching mom and dad. Dad was in the field doing the work. Mom was at home answering phone calls. She was writing paychecks. She was paying the bills. Both of them were key personnel for the company. If mom wasn't doing what she was doing, dad couldn't be doing what he was doing, and vice versa. But this insurance, it's very similar to life insurance. As if something was to happen to me, if I was to kick the bucket, I go to bed at night knowing that my wife and three little girls are going to be, they're going to have money to pay the bills. They'd be able to pay the house off. They would, my wife would be able to send the kids to college, and my funeral expenses will be paid for. But like I said, an employee or a partner who is a valuable asset. You may have, a key employee that you can't do without yourself. It may not be your spouse. It may be that you've hired somebody with another license that's actually helping you have the business that you have. I mean, you necessarily might not, we could take an instance. There could be an irrigation company that the owner's not the licensed irrigation contractor. He actually has an employee that's licensed. Well, what if something happens to that employee? What if he is in a car wreck and is no longer with us? The business owner is going to have somebody, hire somebody to replace that guy. And so if you had a policy that would actually, help you take care of that, to hire somebody else or whatever, it's actually going to, take care of that for you. In business life, guys, whether or not you're a small business or, big CEO of a larger company, you can have it. For instance, the veterinarian that we take our lab to, he had a partner, a while back, a long time ago. They started this thing together. One was doing, cats and dogs in the office. The other one was out doing larger horses and cattle. And they both built this business to a very successful business. And uh, I never did meet the partner that passed away. We started going to it after it, but he told me the story that his partner passed away, and there he was, stuck with a business that was thriving. He couldn't run both ends of the business, and plus, with all the time and energy that his partner had put into the business, if he would have had to sell the business to pay his partner's wife her part of the money. But instead, they both had a business life insurance on each other in case something like that happened. So the business life insurance was paid to the wife, and he was actually able to keep the business himself and not have to sell it and give her, her half of it. So, that was, a key part of their insurance plan, is that they were to take care of each other's family in case something happened. And they were thankful that the vet I am now, he's thankful that he had it, because he was able to keep his business and make sure that his partner's family got what they deserved. All right, property insurance. Do you lease or do you own your property? There's pros and cons to owning and leasing, especially with property and even vehicles. But if you own, your policy will include the building and the personal property coverage. Your building coverage, permanent indoor fixtures, anything that you've got in it, your outdoor fixtures, the property used to service the building, and any temporary structure. So your building coverage is going to cover all aspects of that. Indoor fixtures are stuff that's there that would remain with the building. Outdoor fixtures, the same. It could be permanent gas pumps. Anything that's actually going to stay with the building if you were to sell it. And any temporary structures, if you had your pesticide storage building, a few feet away from your shop, it's actually going to cover that for you. Your personal property coverage, that's going to take care of your furniture. If your office is attached to your shop, or if you just have an office, it's going to include your office furniture. It's going to include your equipment and machineries. Your dad's had a fire in his shop before. We heated it with a wood stove, and one day, for some reason it caught on fire. He lost a whole tool cabinet. He lost a lawnmower. His personal property took care of that. Look at the inventory that we store as landscape contractors and irrigation contractors. The sad thing is, a lot of times we don't know all of our inventory, and we should, but just think about all the seed and fertilizer and irrigation parts that could be stored in your shop. And if you were to have a fire, you've got to have all that stuff covered. And leased property, you're not necessarily going to have to cover the building, and that should be covered by the actual owner. But you're going to have actually make sure you have some type of rental, or that's covered under your personal property coverage. And then, like I said, if you do lease, your lease agreement will include insurance obligations. Renter's commercial insurance package policy is going to let your landlord know that you're covered, and it's going to protect them in any liability suits brought against you or your product. It usually covers as damage from natural disasters and personal negligence. So, the landlord's actually going to be protected if you did something that's actually going to burn his building down. That he's going to be he basically it sums it up. He's protected, and third party cannot sue him because of something that you've done or that your product has covered or has done. And like I said, hurricanes. If you guys are on the coast, tornadoes around here, we see them here some here in the Piedmont area. So it's all covered under your renter's commercial insurance. Types of the property insurance policies. You have the basic form, which is primarily just going to cover you on fire. You've got a broad form, which is going to cover everything. Glass, busted glass out, and then there's the special form that's going to cover pretty much everything. That's your total coverage. Some floaters that you can attach to your property insurance. If there was an earthquake, vandalism, the water sprinklers inside your shop accidentally go off. You've turned the mowers on or something working on it, and the smoke, sets them off. It's going to cover that. Crime, fidelity bonds, your boiler and your machinery, and business interruption, and even a surety bond can actually be floaters attached to your property insurance. Professional liability insurance, again, guys, that's your errors and emissions. Probably not going to be us with irrigation contractors or landscape contractors, but like I said earlier in the presentation, your landscape architects are going to have it, your professional engineers, building architects, and soil scientists, anybody that has that professional seal, and as irrigation contractors, we have a seal, but anything that has to do with design work, you have a flaw in your design that's actually caused some problems later on for a client. You've designed something or engineered something and put your professional seal on it. It's going to come back and help you out with that. I'm very familiar with it on the landscape architecture side of things. I'm not licensed landscape architect at the moment, but we did learn about it in our professional practice class, and the landscape architects I've worked for, and friends of mine, they're always talking about their E&O insurance, which covers them on their professional liability. And insurance, guys, hey, another famous quote. The notorious B.I.G. said it best. Either you're slinging crack rock or you've got a wicked jump shot. Nobody wants to work for it anymore. There's no honor in taking that after-school job at Mickey D's. Honor's in the dollar, kid. So I went the white-collar way of slinging crack rock. I became a broker. And that's a straight-up quote from the boiler room. It's not necessarily what I believe, but I make sure that I study all the business movies and the business quotes especially. Questions, comments, or concerns? Guys, if you have any questions about this presentation, this concludes the actual PowerPoint for this class. But if you have any questions, you can email me at jonesericw@gmail.com, or visit the website and leave me a comment, or you can actually call me on my cell phone at area code 336-345-2148. I keep it with me at all times. And now that we're actually finished with the PowerPoint presentation, on the website, back to the website, ericwjones.com, there is a short little quiz. It's a 10-question quiz. It's very short. You've got 10 minutes to take it, and you can take it as many times as you like. Score 70% or better, and I am going to email you a proof of attendance for this course. It'll be filled out, and this will help you with any auditing that the irrigation board may do. So I'm glad you watched this PowerPoint presentation. I'm probably not into it as much as I am during the daytime, but I'm actually having to record these lectures pretty late at night. I am a full-time grad student at Clemson University in biological science. So wrapping wrapping that up very shortly, and still teaching and doing the lectures at my day job. But I enjoy teaching. I absolutely love it. These classes that I'm doing online here, they are going to be offered as a one-day seminar where you guys can definitely get 8 hours. You can get 2 business hours and 6 irrigation in one day, and hopefully I probably won't have it in time for the 2012 CEU deadline for this year. But starting in January, I'll have 10 hours certified for you guys, and we can actually do 10 hours in one day at a very good discounted price for you guys. But this will conclude this PowerPoint, so please take the quiz. Score 70% or better. It's on Moodle, so I will have the scores emailed to me as soon as you actually take the quiz, and you can take it as many times as you like. And once again, I appreciate it, and I hope to see you guys soon. Thank you.